I've never told this story publicly before. Not because I forgot it, but because saying his name still feels like inviting him back. We called him Scarecrow, but that wasn't the name that chased us through Springfield. My name is Phil. This happened in Springfield, Oregon when I was in high school. Late fall, cold rain. The kind that doesn't freeze you, it just sinks into your bones and stays there. I used to hang around the Springfield bus station skipping class sometimes. That's where I met him, Tyson Palmer. He lingered near the smoking area, always asking for cigarettes. Sometimes he'd trade weed. Sometimes he'd just stare at your hands after you gave him something, like he expected them to move again on their own. He was short, frail, not sick-looking, just hollow. No tattoos, no scars. Nothing memorable, except his teeth. Brown, jagged, almost sharp, like something feral pretending to be human. And his eyes. There was nothing in them. No emotion, no curiosity, no anger, just existence. Like whatever plan God had for him got lost somewhere, and he was left behind in some breathing version of purgatory. One morning, skipping school again, I asked him for a cigarette. He wore a leather trench coat and a black trilby hat burned with cigarette holes. He smelled like an overflowing ashtray. He stared at me too long before handing one over. I don't know why, but I told him I didn't want to go to class. He smiled. Not friendly. Relieved. "You can warm up at my place," he said. "Don't get many guests." I should have walked away. Instead, I followed him. His apartment sat near the railroad tracks off Main Street. One of those buildings people pretend not to notice. Inside was worse. Roaches scattered when we entered. Walls stained dark from years of smoke. No photos, no decorations. No sign anyone actually lived there. He talked constantly. Stories about construction jobs, crimes, running away, welding work. Every story impressive. And none of them ever ended the same way twice. If you questioned anything, he'd drift into a different story. Later we learned bits of truth. Foster care, street life. Heavy smoking destroyed his lungs. Cancer treatments around 2012. People who knew him said something changed after chemo. Not his brain, something deeper. By 2016 he survived on caseworkers and whatever. Lies kept a roof over his head. He wanted to be a horror writer, called himself a modern Edgar Allan Poe. But Poe understood madness. Scarecrow welcomed it. The last time we went there, it was me, Jared, and Brandon. Storm pouring outside, so we stayed longer than we should have. That's when things went wrong. He lit a cigarette and said, "Sometimes someone else drives." His posture changed. His voice flattened. Then he picked up an axe from beside the couch. He stared at Brandon. "What cloak are you wearing?" Brandon laughed nervously. "Just a hoodie." Scarecrow tilted his head. "What clan are you from?" The air changed instantly. Scarecrow's fingers, notably, are getting longer and bony. His stare even more piercing than usual, as if there is something, finally, vessel amongst his soul. He grips his hatchet and looks at us. "How about dinner? Will you boys cook?" He points at his kitchen. On the counter, tomatoes and spaghetti, and a paper-packaged mystery ground meat. The meat smelled sweet. Yet something about the meat made me sick to my stomach. It told me to run away. As we prepare to cook, then someone knocked on the back door. He froze. "Answer it," he whispered. We opened it. No one was there. But when we turned back, he was eating the raw meat out of the paper packaging, much like a feral animal. We then take the opportunity. We burst out the door into the storm. Rain hammering down as we sprinted toward the city street through a wooded field. Lightning flashed, and in that flash we saw him running after us. Fast. We dove under a massive tree's cave, hiding in a hollow space within the root ball of the tree. Rainwater dripped down while we held our breath. Lightning cracked again, and for a split second his silhouette stood in the trees. Then Brandon. The axe slammed through the roots. Ungrateful rodents. The blade struck Brandon's neck. He came out of nowhere. We pulled him free, blood everywhere, panic setting in. Jared threw a rock, striking Scarecrow's head, buying time. We ran towards light within the trees, Jared carrying Brandon while I stumbled ahead. Lungs burning like smoke, heart exploding in my chest. Lightning flashed again. Scarecrow was only 50 feet away, holding his head. "Why did you do that?" he screamed as he stamped toward me. I remembered something from martial arts that used their momentum against them. As he swung the axe down, lightning lit his face. His lips looked gone, nose sunken. eyes burning like coals. I grabbed his arm, shifted his weight, and threw him over my shoulder. He hit the ground head first, folding him in half from his neck. The fire in his eyes went dark. At this moment, we ran, never looking back. Headlights appeared on an unpaved road. A truck stopped. An older man yelled for us to get in after seeing Brandon's condition. As we loaded him in the bed, a distant whistle drifted through the rain. Victorious, catchy, memorable. Brandon survived. But he was never the same again, and we never went back near that bus station. Over the years, others have shared encounters. Same man, same stories. Sometimes they say he is innocent, he means no harm, then others know him by another name. No name. All I know is when it rains in Springfield, I smell cigarettes. And if you're at the Springfield bus station and you listen just carefully, you can hear his distant whistle. We should have just gone to class that day, because now, every time another kid goes missing, I just wonder if they wish they went to class that day or anywhere else.
I've never told this story publicly, mostly because people still hike there, and because one of my friends never came back. Back in 2015, when we were in high school, my friends and I used to skip school and disappear into the Thurston Cliffs in Salem, Oregon. Everyone in town knew the trails, but not all of them. Some paths didn't show up on maps. You only found them if you wandered far enough. There were 3 of us that day. Me, Jared, Jamin. The cliffs had a reputation. There was a stone where people carved their initials, names going back decades. Someone told us Kip Kinkle's initials were there too. I don't know if that part was true, but the mine was. It operated in the 1930s. Then in 1950, the entrance was sealed, blown shut. No warning signs, no explanation. We thought we had already found the end of it. We were wrong. J-Men found the cave by accident, half hidden behind broken rock. We didn't plan to go far. We turned on our phone flashlights and went inside, joking, music playing quietly. About halfway through, Jair's phone died. No warning. Then Jamin's. I remember thinking, it was strange how dark it got, all at once. When my phone went black too, it felt deliberate. That's when we heard it. Water, rushing, and radio chatter. Walkie-talkies, close enough to understand, but not close enough to see. It didn't sound like people searching. It sounded like people working. We ran toward a faint light and came out onto a trail none of us recognized. It was wide, packed down, like it was used constantly. The moment we stepped out, the sound stopped. The forest ahead was loud with birds. Behind us was quiet enough to hear breathing. As we followed the trail, we found a clearing, perfectly round, large stones stacked around it, even spacing, intentional. They were heavy. We couldn't move them alone. Then the smell hit us. Rot. The flies were worse. Thousands of them, hovering low, like fog. We shouldn't have touched the stones, but we did. When we knocked a few over, the buzzing stopped. Not faded, stopped. Jared realized he'd left his backpack and ran back. When he returned, he was pale, shaken. He said the stones were back, stacked, exactly the same. Then something came through the trees. I never saw it. I only heard it. Heavy, fast. The flies moved with it, like they were attached to whatever was running at us. We scattered. I ran until the ground turned to gravel, a logging road. I hid. I remember thinking I deserved whatever happened next. After a while, I heard someone moving. A branch snapped. It was Jared. He wouldn't look behind him. I asked where Jamin was. He didn't answer. Jamin never came out. Search teams found his backpack, his phone, nothing else. We buried an empty casket. I can't even describe the look on his mother's face. He was an only child. We didn't see much of her after the funeral. This year, 11 years later, to the exact day, police found human remains, tangled in blackberry bushes, near the cliffs. Not just a skeleton, but a body, flesh and all. DNA confirmed. It was Jamin. the medical examiner said. Every bone in his body was broken, multiple fractures per bone. One impact, like a fall, from very high up. Animals don't do that. I don't know what happened to him. Something brought him back, and I don't think it meant to. If you hike Thurston Cliffs and find a trail that feels too worn to be real, turn around, and if you see stones stacked in a circle, leave them alone.
I wouldn't normally post something like this, but I have to. I'm an astronomer, and as I was looking through my telescope at exactly 9:36 p.m. January 20th, the sky blinked. I don't know how else to describe it. For exactly 5 seconds, every star, the moon, and planets went black. Gone. The sky was completely blank. Then 5 seconds later, they were back. I would have made a report, but none of my coworkers saw, neither my wife or friends. On January 30th, I was looking through my telescope at the Vega system, approximately 2,600 light years from Earth. I was focusing the telescope on one of the stars and it vanished. 5 seconds later, it was back. 10 seconds later, gone. It repeated like this for some time. Something was blocking the star. It took me a while till I figured out what I was looking at. A face. A human face. Drenched in the black void of space, poorly illuminated by the dim lights of stars light years away. The whites of its eyes reflected light the best, and were the clearest to see. It was watching almost as if I was the one being observed by the telescope. February 2nd, I've been crunching the numbers to see how big the person in the sky is. To put it in simple terms, if the person in the sky was the size of an average man, then the sun would be the relative size of a grain of rice. February 12th, I haven't been sleeping well. Nobody believes me. They say I'm going crazy. I'm sure the person passed by Earth on the 20th of January. I feel like I'm being watched. February 22nd, I've located the person in the sky as I watched it. Walk, glide, move through the empty void of space. It moved past a red giant star close enough to clearly see its face. It's not a person. It's not a human. I don't know what it is. The face is wrong and stretched unnaturally. It's coming closer.